The next spotlight cash card is going to be Goliath. Goliath is going to be joined by Gwynpool and Cersei, which are interesting choices since neither one of them are ongoing. But with that said, the reason I view them the most as interesting choices because I personally have been debating if Cersei and Grenpool are any good in this meta. I mean, Cersei will always be a surprise twist kind of card, but Gwenpool may be too random for this meta because we are getting a lot more targeted card buffs, hand buffs, field buffs, whatnot. But I digress. Let's get into Goliath. Goliath reads ongoing +1 power for each other ongoing card you have in play. That's why I said the thing I said about ongoing earlier. Now, this card particularly doesn't seem too bad. Okay, it is ongoing, so it's technically susceptible to Enchantress, Rogue, the usual ongoing suspects. But you could also do something with Moonstone. Yeah, Moonstone seems like a pretty cheeky card here, if I'm being honest, because Moonstone is one of those cards, right, that you can just double whatnot. So if you put a Moonstone on him, he, well, automatically he'll become +2 if as long as you have another ongoing card, because it specifically said ongoing card you have in play. Now, on the flip side, I suppose your opponent could play Super Scroll and use this effect at basically no downside whatsoever, because I see Goliath going perfectly fine in an ongoing deck, be it an ongoing deck such as Mr. Negative. Yeah, Mr. Negative is kind of the quote king of ongoing decks at the moment, and Goliath fits in that just fine. I mean, you even want gore in the Mr. Negative deck. In Goliath loves a gore. So, yeah, that's perfectly fine with that. Now, will Goliath become like a meta in the whole Mr. Negative deck? I don't know, honestly. Because one could argue that Mr. Negative decks already have certain cards they play. Who would you drop for Goliath? I mean, in theory, you could drop Super Scroll for Goliath, I suppose. Well, I mean, if you play Super Scroll, do most Mr. Negative decks play Super Scroll these days? I know Super Scroll is slotted in sometimes because it's an easy slot and it's a tech card and it's still an ongoing card, so it gets slotted into a lot of ongoing decks, including Mr. Negative. But the thing is that it doesn't have to be slotted in. I guess you could slot in more utility. See, Super Scroll is what's called a tech card. Tech cards tend to be easily slotted in, or if you think your opponent's going to have a lot of ongoing, you would use Super Scroll, a tech card. In theory, you could also use Enchantress or even Rogue, but most people go with something like Super Scroll in an ongoing because, as mentioned before, Super Scroll is still ongoing. And unlike Rogue, you don't have to rely on stealing your opponent's ability. You literally can just have it, have your cake and eat it too, as it were. And yeah, there's really no downside per se. I think I talked myself into the week that he's coming out, which is this upcoming week as of recording this. I think I talked myself into using him along with Super Scroll in the deck. So I guess stay tuned to the channel for eventually that type of deck. I don't even know what I'm going to do day one on it, but we'll see. We will see because he does seem pretty interesting per se. Okay. He could work with a hand generation deck as well. Maybe I'm thinking Victoria Hand somewhere. Maybe that's just because Victoria Hand is an ongoing card. So the thing is, all ongoing cards instinctively play well with him. And it said each other ongoing card that you have in play. It doesn't say here. So he doesn't have to be in the lane that he, in order to get the ongoing and crit, which is very good, okay? Because that's the weakness of Moonstone. In case, I know I keep coming back to Moonstone, but yeah, that's the weakness of Moonstone, the biggest weakness. That whatever card Moonstone is affecting has to be in the same lane as Moonstone. Now, with that said, Cosmo actually, I imagine would see a lot of play this season, considering that Cosmo is also an ongoing. But Cosmo is an ongoing that you can't respond to. You'll have to make your opponent respond to you with a Cosmo, if that makes sense. Because that card like Echo that exists, if you sort of snipe the Cosmo, you can take away his ability, but you can't react to a Cosmo, if that makes sense. Because you can't Enchantress a Cosmo. You can't Rogue a Cosmo. So, yeah, because they're both unreveal cards. So, yeah, I expect to see a lot of Cosmo paired with him. Seems pretty cool. And he's a 2-1 opposed to being a 1 cost like Ant-Man per se. So he is immune to getting destroyed like Ant-Man. So that being said, Ant-Man, him, and Speed seem like, I don't know, in my mind, that seems like the perfect 3-turn on curve play. You play Ant-Man on 1, you play Goliath on 2, you play Speed on 3, depending on if your opponent is sort of ongoing deck or not, you either play Super Scroll on 4 or you play Cosmo with Echo on 4. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, see, I feel like in my mind I'm building a deck already. So, yeah, he seems like he could be fun. I'll be honest, at the very get-go when I started recording this, I kind of just thought he was a plain cookie cutter type character, But I'm starting to come around to the idea of him in general. So that's not bad. That is not bad at all. But I am going to end it off here. Let me know your thoughts on the matter. If you think he's going to be brilliant, if you think he's going to be terrible, or you think he's just going to be meh, let me know either which way. And with that said, I will catch you guys in the future. Later.